righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Long before all of creation, all that I see, you stood alone in your glory eternally. Then with a word you created galaxies formed at your feet. You're the highest of all, you're as high as can be. Glorified on the throne, give praise to the King. All of heaven bows down in worship to thee, Lord. You are, O Lord, by far highest of all. Who, Lord, can fathom your power, mercy, and grace? Raining your blessings upon us all of our days. Love beyond all understanding, humbly we offer our praise. You're the highest of all, you're as high as can be. Glorified on the throne, give praise to the King. All of heaven bows down in worship to thee, Lord. You are, O Lord, by far. You're the highest of all, you're as high as can be. Glorified on the throne, give praise to the King. All of heaven bows down in worship to thee, Lord. You are, O Lord, by far highest of all. Yes, Lord, you are highest of all. There's a place where mercy reigns and never dies. There's a place where streams of grace flow deep and wide. Where all the love I've ever found comes like a flood, comes flowing down. At the cross, I surrender my life. I'm in all of you, in all of you. Where your love
Good evening. I got thumbs aloft, multiple thumbs aloft, so I guess we're ready to go. Good, good to see everyone here this evening. Thank you for being here. Good to get back into the swing of things and regular Bible classes after having some different plans the last 2 Wednesday nights. Thank you all for being here. We want to begin by making some announcements. We'll sing how many songs? 2 songs, and then we will have a prayer and be dismissed to our Bible classes. Roger Royston had a successful surgery today. I think they made a couple more incisions than they thought they were going to, but he's doing really well. Stay the night in the hospital, but everything's going well with him. Nita Brinley continues to struggle with influenza type A. Bernice Henley has been sick, suffering from 2 infections. She's been away for 3 weeks. We need to be praying for her. Philip Gibson recovering from surgery, of course. Reina Ramirez recovering from her surgery that she had December 23rd. We want to make sure we keep praying for Irvin Jackson. This is Angela Stewart's father, who was recently diagnosed with cancer, and she requests prayers for guidance as they determine a treatment plan. Agnes Collins recovering from a stroke. Stephen Rollins, who's a good friend of many of us here, he's been for years the minister at the Leesburg Church of Christ and very active in Camp Wamava, along with his wife Lydia. He fell on the ice over the holidays, hit his head, and is being treated for a brain bleed. Have an update on my sister-in-law, Tina. She no longer has a brain bleed. Her brain seems to have healed. She does have a crack that is healing, but she is still experiencing some severe symptoms. So keep my sister-in-law, Tina, in your prayers. Let's not forget the folks who are fighting cancer: Diane Walker, Foster Caffey, Janine Easterwood, Reina Ramirez, Jose Chavez, Margaret Michaud, Jessica Tira, who was recently in the hospital but back home, Carol Whitaker, Terry Folker, Mike Davis, Al Dugas, Chris Bridley, Evelyn, and Lana Benefield. We do want to mention the passing of Evelyn Reddick on Christmas Day. And we've been mentioning her funeral services will be February 6th, visitations at 9:30, and then the service itself will be at 10:30 on that Friday. We will take a church van. If you'd like to go with us in the church van, let me know so I make sure we have room for everyone. And we do have an address for James in the bulletin this evening, because I know everyone wants to be sending him cards. Our pantry needs are jelly and spaghetti sauce. And we use our pantry a lot, so we need to keep it stocked. Last leaders, the song leading workshop, bread ministry, Magi boxes, all have announcements in the bulletin, so make sure you consult that source for more information. Let's lift our voices together at this time and sing praise to God.
Start with number 400, Living by Faith. I care not today what the morrow may bring, if shadow or sunshine or rain. The Lord I know ruleth o'er everything, and all of my worry is vain. Living by faith in Jesus above, trusting, confiding in his great love. From all harm safe in his sheltering arm, I'm living by faith and feel no alarm. I know that he safely will carry me through, no matter what evils betide. Why should I then care though the tempest may blow close to my side? Living by faith in Jesus above, trusting, confiding in his great love. from all harm safe in his sheltering arm. I'm living by faith and feel no alarm. Then 937, I stand in awe, and then we'll be dismissed in a prayer to our classes. Let's stand, if we can, for this song. You are beautiful beyond description, too marvelous for words, too wonderful for comprehension, like nothing ever seen or heard. Who can grasp your infinite wisdom? Who can fathom the depth of your love? You are beautiful beyond description, majesty enthroned above. And I stand in awe of you. I stand in awe of you, holy God, to whom all praise is due. I stand in awe of you.
Would you bow with me? Our Father, we come before you tonight and acknowledge you as the creator and sustainer of life. We acknowledge you as the source of all the blessings that we enjoy, and we do indeed, as we just sang, stand in awe of you, because you are indeed worthy of all glory and honor and praise. We're thankful for this time to be together as a community of believers, and Barry just gave us a list of people that are suffering various illnesses. We would pray for each of them and to comfort each of them, as well as the Reddick family and James and the loss of his mother. Bless these people as they're going through various struggles that this life has to offer. But we do indeed, as we also sang, live by faith, and we trust in your love to get us through the struggles and the trials of this life. Thank you for this opportunity together to study from your word tonight. We're grateful for each and every teacher that has taken time to prepare the lessons from the cradle roll through the adult class. We're grateful for these teachers, for their love of you and for their love of your word and for their love to teach others. And be with us now as we go to our classes. Through your son's name, amen.
Good evening, everybody. I had to get my roaming collar instead of a tie-down leash because I roam too much. We are in the book of Daniel. Well, we were at least nearly a month ago. So we are back again. I hope everybody had great holiday time. It is good to see everybody back. I know that a lot of the college students are starting to head back and or will be heading back in the next week or so. So as we said, keep them in our prayers as they are traveling. And then the many others that were mentioned by Barry earlier. One of my coworkers, their daughter was born over the holidays, a little bit before the holidays, and they just got her home from Children's Hospital. There's a genetic problem that she has. He told me what it was. If I was to try to pronounce it, I would get it so wrong I wouldn't know what it was. But anyway, her name is Rosalind, and Rosalind Barnes. And so if y'all wouldn't mind putting her on your prayers, would really appreciate that. Young couple, I think this is their second child, if I am remembering correctly, but young couple, and need all the prayers. Again, we're in the book of Daniel. First night, we talked a whole lot of history and talking about all the things that were going on around the time period or leading up to the time period. A reminder that Judah is the only one that's still left of the 10 tribes, or the 12 tribes, Judah and Benjamin. The northern kingdom, the 10 tribes, have already been carried off into Assyrian captivity. Nebuchadnezzar, well, you have the Assyrians coming down and threatening, you have them going back and forth. You've got the Egyptians doing a little bit of threatening, but Judah, or the king, kind of makes a agreement with them, and there's a little bit of that going on. And then, as Assyria starts getting weak, the king stands up to Pharaoh trying to come through to go and help Assyria. And basically God then says, you're standing in the way, I didn't ask you to do that. And the next thing you have is you have Babylon coming through Assyria, sweeping down, goes down towards Egypt, and then starts coming back. Nebuchadnezzar's leading the forces. He was leading the forces as the son of the king. As he's doing all this, he gets back to Jerusalem, besieges Jerusalem. They have given up, and somewhere around the same time period, his father dies. So depending on whose opinion you want to listen to, because it's all opinion, but it was one of the reasons he didn't stay and finally clean out Jerusalem and kind of left a vassal king and those kinds of things was he needed to get back to Babylon to establish himself as king. But he takes all the young men. As he's taken all the young men back, we know the story is that Daniel goes back with them, along with Hananiah, Azariah, and Hananiah. You know what? I can never remember the right names. Yeah, there you go. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. All right. It's a shame, isn't it? We know Daniel is Daniel. It takes me a minute to remember his Belshazzar, right? So, but we remember them by their Babylonian names. And what's sad is I looked at it not too long ago, but I've had a commute since then, so I'll blame it on the commute, to try to get the names in my Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. Thank you. All right. So the four of them are taken captive, but it's a assimilation type captivity, right? They're bringing them in. They're going to give them the best food and the best of this and the best of that, and we're going to teach them to be one of us. That's really what they're doing, right? And so in the first chapter, when we were reading through that, we read through the fact that Daniel goes, okay, let me go to, not the chief eunuch, because he's the one that's been given the command to do all this. Let me go to the steward. And let me talk to him and say, hey, make a deal with you. For about 10 days, let us just eat vegetables. Give us water. Then judge for yourself if we're okay. Because the fear, when they were talking about it, was, oh no, the king sees y'all getting weak and everything, then that's my head. I'm not risking that. So he goes to the steward and said, hey, just make the switch for me, 10 days. Check it out. After 10 days, they were fatter in the flesh. They looked better. So I said, okay, let's do that. In Jeremiah, it talks about when the captives were taken. In the first captivity, which is not the one when Daniel goes a little bit beforehand. The first captivity, there's like 3,600 that go, or 3,200 that go. And then there's like a 700 and a 300 phase in 3 different captivities, or deportations of captives. There's a lot of people taken at one time. You never hear of just only 4 taken, right? As a matter of fact, it says that the king and his family and a lot of the nobles are taken in that first sweep. Then he leaves a vassal king. You don't leave the original king that fought you there. You leave somebody else, right? These 4 men stood up and said, no, we're not going to do that. So it got me to thinking when I was studying through this, why just these 4? Why weren't there others? And I don't believe that we can read into it that there weren't others. So as I finally studied into my thinking that I can't read into that there weren't others, then why did God put this story in here for us? Because as you're reading through, there's almost always some way to follow a lineage in the stories to get it to God or get it to Jesus at some point in time. Almost all of the stories, almost all of the prophets have some way that they get it to Jesus' lineage. Daniel's not the only one-off, but he is one of the more significant one-offs. He's certainly not going to be part of the lineage. He's a eunuch. He's certainly a story for some reason that we need to hear. So as we start digging back into Daniel, I want y'all to keep that in mind. What is it that God is trying to teach us? What is he trying to tell us as he is telling us this story? Because at the end of the day, it may be Daniel's story, but it's God telling it. So why is he telling us this story? We know from reading in the New Testament, it says that if we were to try to write all the books about everything that Jesus did, it would fill up rooms and it would fill up everywhere, right? There's millions and billions of stories to tell about Jesus when he was on earth, much less everything God has done for his people the whole time that his people were going through. So it's always important for us to remember there's significance to why God gives us these stories. Last time we got down to, in my notes, where I was talking about him being a shrewd negotiator. He went to them and he talked these guys into, here, just check me out, make sure. He didn't go directly against the head guy. He went to the steward and he made it in such a way that the steward didn't feel threatened to try this. So as he's doing this, he's being very shrewd, cautious. He's figuring out how to get to where he needs to please God, but not in such a way that this guy's going to come back at him hard. I think there's an important lesson for us to learn there, right? I know Barry was talking about in a couple of different things that are right around this time period that for this 70 years, I'm not telling you to take up arms and create a rebellion and do a secret underground where you're sabotaging the Babylonians. Go, live, build houses, have children, prosper. I'm putting you there. And I'm putting you there for a reason. And I'm going to bring you back. I know we probably, if an invading force came in, we would want to do a little underground resistance. So God made sure and said, don't do that. Work with them in such a way that it leaves an impression. Barry pointed out, and I believe it was last Wednesday night in the Devo that we were doing in here, when we talked about they went into Babylon, they made an impression. And we know they made an impression because that region became monotheistic as they matured on beyond them coming back. As you move into the Christian time period, we just had the time period where we talk about, these kings that came from the east, right? To come find Jesus. They're coming from the east. They're coming from that area. From there. That's the area that Abraham had come from. It's important for us to keep in mind the influence that they had. Daniel and them, while Nebuchadnezzar could never completely take full hold of it, and we're going to see it as we study through here, your God's God. I still want to play around with these other gods, but your God's God. That was getting into them as Daniel lived his story, lived his life. Daniel is going to, at the end of chapter 1, it's going to say that Daniel makes it into the first year of King Cyrus. If you've done any studies to try to figure out exactly what years those are, you will know you will drive yourself nuts. I would love to just tell AI, go figure it out and see how nuts it would go trying to search around and find all that. The honest truth is what it does is it takes I can find 5,000 documents that say this and only 3,000 that say this, so it gives you the one that's 5,000 say, right? So, but at the end of the day, that's going to put them somewhere around the year 538, 536, 535, somewhere in there. So, if he makes it to that age, Daniel is taken into captivity around 20. And when we get into chapter 2 here in a minute, you'll see why I think it's 20. And he dies somewhere around the age of somewhere between 87 and 95, depending on whose opinion you believe. If it is 535, he is right at 90 years old. He lived a very long life, impressing a lot of people. I think that's kind of cool. Let's start in chapter 2. In chapter 2, we start with, now in the second year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was so troubled that his sleep left him. Then the king gave the command to call the magicians, the astrologers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, to tell the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king, and the king said to them, I have had a dream, and my spirit is anxious to know the dream. Then the Chaldeans spoke to the king in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will give you the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me and its interpretation, you shall be cut into pieces, and your houses shall be made an ash heap. So let's think about this for a minute. Comes up and says, he has a dream, it's really bothering him. He said, hey, Bink, I need you to interpret my dream for me. Well, what's the obvious question, right? Well, tell me your dream. Nope. I want to make sure you know what you're talking about. So tell me my dream and then tell me the interpretation. Talk about shrewdness, right? Talking about wisdom there. It's easy to make a prediction once you kind of already hear what's being said. It's easy to do the interpretation. I'll give you an example. I take a cookie and I lay it on a table that's about 3 feet tall. I turn my back. I hear 15 5-year-olds walk through the kitchen. I'm going to make a prediction. That cookie won't be there. When I turn around and the cookie's gone, I'm going to make an interpretation. One of the 5-year-olds took it. Right? But Nebuchadnezzar goes, yeah, we're not playing that game. See, even Jesus tells us that watching signs that are obvious are obvious. In Matthew 16, he says, in the morning, if you look up, see the sky is red and threatening, you know it's going to rain. We turn that into a saying, right? Red at night, sailors delight. Red in the morning, sailors take warning, right? We know this. We know how easy it is to interpret an obvious. Everybody likes to pick on, talk about Nostradamus and whatnot. As I used to say, yeah, his predictions are so wide, I can make it fit just about anything that are going on. And that is part of the way. So he is calling in, and here's how the Bible lists them: magicians, astrologers, and, because I read from 3 different versions, and they all 3 say 3 different things. This version says astrologers, magicians, and sorcerers. When we think of that, we think of the tricksters, right? Y'all remember when people were trying to prove, somebody else was trying to prove that they're from God, and these guys were they brought in front of Pharaoh, they brought in hypnotized snakes. They threw them on the ground and said, see, we can make snakes. And God says, okay, go swallow the other snakes. And then turn back into wood, so that when he picks it up, anybody examines it, it's wood. See, magicians can do those kinds of things. I remember being amazed at some of the tricks that they could do with the sleight of hands and those kinds of things. And that's what these guys are trying to do. And he says, no, I'm not going to fall for that. It also tells you a little bit of just how important he thinks this dream is, right? He probably has had dreams before he told to somebody, they interpreted it and it didn't come out to be true, right? And this dream left him with such a weight in his consciousness, he wanted to make sure he knew what it was about. So he puts a seriousness on it. You'll get cut to pieces, and I will bring your house to ashes. Let's continue reading from verse 6. However, if you tell the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive from the gifts, rewards, and great honor. Therefore, tell me the dream and its interpretation. And they answered and said to him, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will give its interpretation. So they kind of doubled down. Hey, until you tell me the dream, we can't do it. The king answered and said, I know for certain that you would gain time because you see that my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me, there is only one decree for you. For you have agreed to speak lying and corrupt words before me till the time has changed. You're going to try to wear me down. You're just going to keep stringing me along. It's words we would use today, right? You're just going to keep stringing me along to try to get me to change my mind. It's not going to work. It tells us a little bit of something about how serious this dream is. And I think that's important for us to know. Remember, I said, why does God give us these stories? Why is this king all of a sudden this serious about getting an interpretation about a dream? Now, because we all have read the Bible a half a dozen times, we know this story, right? We know what the dream is, and we know what it's about. But I think it's important for us to take a look at and note how important God is influencing the king to say, I need the right interpretation put out. There's also another hidden thing that's going to happen here in a second. And he says, you have agreed to speak lies and corrupt. You're in collusion to keep me baffled until I can finally just give up and go on about my business. Therefore, tell me the dream, and I shall know that you give me its right interpretation. So don't give me any double talk. You're not going to find out the dream from me. You're going to have to tell me what the dream was. If you remember, Pharaoh had to be told the dream. He couldn't remember the dream. Nebuchadnezzar apparently could remember the dream, because he's using that to gauge whether or not they knew what they were talking about. The Chaldeans answered the king and said, there is not a man on earth who can tell the king's matter. First truthful thing they said to him. Therefore, no king, lord, or ruler has ever asked such things of any magician, astrologer, or Chaldean. So they very truthfully say, we're just men. All we can do is take a good guess at what it is. So in God telling us the story through Daniel, we're getting that understanding that no man can do this. People that are not following God are admitting no man can do this. A king that is not following God says, I don't trust you, you're going to double talk me because I don't believe you can do it unless you tell me the dream. Can you see the crescendo working towards Daniel coming on the scene here at the end or here in a few more verses? It is a difficult thing that the king requests, and there is no other who can tell it to the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. They got a half-truth there, right? The only person that can tell you about it is a god, or the god, whose dwelling is not with the flesh. That's not true, is it? He just took a whole bunch of vessels out of where God comes and sits on the mercy throne. For this reason, the king was angry and very furious and gave the command to destroy all of the wise men of Babylon. So the decree went out, and they began killing the wise men, and they sought Daniel and his companions to kill them. They pulled all the wise men and all the Chaldeans, the learned men. Where were Daniel and his companions when that happened? In the palace, in care of the leader of the eunuchs. Why were they not in there during the interpretation of the dream? I've studied this for a long time. I figured it out this time. So you learn something new every time. I like that. Nebuchadnezzar took over in 605. That's his first year. So which is the same year that Daniel is taken captive. At the beginning of chapter 2, it says, we're in the second year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign. Daniel and his companions are only in the second year. They haven't even been verified as they're supposed to do on the third year. We're only 1 year, 1.5 years, maybe 2. You know, their years fluctuate. Yeah. No, but they would have been the Chaldeans, which are the wise men. They would have been the learned men. Yeah. And we'll see here in a minute when the king's guard brings them in, the other reason why they weren't there. But it's interesting to me, I always thought that this was older Daniel, right? This is still in his probationary period, Daniel. Because that's going to be even more significant with what Nebuchadnezzar does for him here in a minute. Let's go ahead and read some more. Then with counsel and wisdom, Daniel answered Arioch, the captain of the king's guard. So they've come and they found him, who had gone out to kill the wise men of Babylon. So, obviously, these guys that are studying are considered to be the wise men of Babylon, because they're coming to find Daniel and kill him. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, "Why is the decree from the king so urgent?" Then Arioch made the decision known to Daniel. So Daniel went in and asked the king to give him time that he might tell the king the interpretation. So obviously Daniel wasn't there because he had to get the story, right? This captain is supposed to be going out and killing these guys. I don't think it's much of a stretch for me to say this captain comes and he finds Daniel, and Daniel says, "Hey, wait a minute, what's going on?" And the captain listens to him. So Daniel has gained a reputation. It's a stretch for me to say that, but a lot of us have been military before, military now. Big boss gives you an order, you go start executing that order. Somebody that you don't respect or that you don't have respect for is probably not going to slow you down in executing that order. Somebody you have respect for will go, "Okay, let me explain it to you." I can tell you how many times I have asked for an explanation, and the answer I got back, it was not, "Let me explain it to you." All right? So, I'm going out on a limb, but I think Daniel already has the respect of the court, even though he's in his probationary period. Then Daniel goes to the king, but we'll see in the reading, I don't think he got to the king, I think he got to the king's secretary or something, and said, "Hey, let the king know, give me a minute, I'll come back and give him the interpretation." So Daniel goes and makes an appointment to go give him the interpretation. Now let's read some more of the story. Then Daniel went to his house and made the decision known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they might seek mercies from God of heaven concerning this secret, so that Daniel and his companions might not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. "Hey, king, I'll come tell you the interpretation." "Hey, guys, I have no idea what the interpretation is. Let's pray to God." That faith is amazing to me. This young man goes to the king and says, "I'm going to come back with the interpretation." And then turns around and goes to his friends and say, "Hey, guys, help me pray so we can get the interpretation." Man, that steps all over my toes. I try to, when I'm reading and doing things out of the Old Testament, I try to say, what's in it for me? What should I learn from that? Daniel's faith hits me square in the gut because of that one line of, "King, I'll come back with the interpretation." "Hey, guys, help me ask God for the interpretation." But it's also cool because it's about what we're supposed to do as Christians, right? I can't do this alone. Come help me pray. I can't do this alone. Help me. Pray to the God for mercy that he will give me the interpretation. This is a young man that was 3 or 4 years old when they finally found the scrolls to start reading them again. He studied his way into understanding how powerful God was and what he did for his people. Again, Daniel's one of those one-offs, but man, it's such a cool story. Starting in verse 19. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a night vision. So Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel, because of his faith, receives the interpretation. And we see that all in the Old Testament, don't we? It is counted unto Abraham righteousness because of his faith. Which is kind of funny because what counted righteousness because of his faith was him getting up and leaving Babylon and going to the promised land. Right? Okay, Ur of Chaldees. But leaving Babylon, leaving Baghdad, and going over into what would become the promised land. Faith does things. James tells us faith without works is dead, so we have to do something about it. And Daniel shows us a lot of doing something about it, right? Matter of fact, his faith caused him to go to the king's secretary or whoever, make an appointment to come back with the interpretation before he ever went and prayed to make sure he knew the interpretation. That's a lot of work in that faith. Once he gets that vision and he is provided the dream and the interpretation, Daniel answered and said, "Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changes the times and the season. He removes kings and raises up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. He reveals deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness. The light dwells in him." He sings a song of praise. He prays a song of praise. Whatever this is, and it seems like it's a song, he is praising God and at the same time standing in awe of God. So as he is doing this, he talks about he removes kings and rises up kings. A year ago, the king that he had respect for died, 2 years earlier. This new king that he doesn't have respect for gets removed. This king that he doesn't know, and it's a foreigner, is being stood up. He knows what he's talking about when he says, "God, you remove kings and stand up kings and do these things." Daniel is saying, I see you working in all of this that's going on around me. I see you working in the Assyrians coming in and doing what they did, and Babylon coming in and doing what they did, and Egypt doing what they did, because he was a learned man. He understood all this stuff. That's why we talked about it in the first week. Daniel saw that, and he prayed, I see you in doing this. I see that wisdom, those that are wise, the wisdom comes from you. Those that have knowledge, that understanding comes from you. You reveal the deep and secret things. Then he goes on to say, I thank you and praise you, O God of my fathers. You have given me wisdom and might. You have now made known to me what we asked of you. For you have made known to us the king's demand. As he is going through, he put himself out there, right? And he said, hey, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to bring back the interpretation. He goes and he prays, and he immediately says, thank you, God, for giving me the interpretation. again, I embarrass myself reading this because I can think of all the times, God, please help me, blah, 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 blah. And then he helps me, and I'm like, okay, let's go. Instead of stopping and praying. Another lesson for Mel to learn. Stop and acknowledge. Stop and pray. As soon as he has done what he feels is the right thing to do, which is to stop and pray and fulfill that thanking God, he immediately then starts going to the king. Therefore Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said to him, do not destroy the wise men of Babylon. Remember when he said, let's go pray to God that we don't get destroyed with them. That's what he said to his companions. But now he's coming to the king's guard and saying, hey, don't go kill anybody else. Don't destroy anybody else. Is that not a David moment? David easily could have hoped for Saul and the whole armies and everything to be wiped out, but he was like, nope, not my place to ask for that. Daniel comes and immediately goes, hey, don't kill anymore. I've got the answer. Take me to the king. Take me before the king, and I will tell the king the interpretation. Then Arioch quickly brought Daniel before the king and said to him, I have found a man of the captives of Judea, who will make known to the king the interpretation. Remember a minute ago I said, hey, we'll see another reason why they might not have been in there? These are the captives. That theme's going to play all through Daniel's life, right? He is going to be a foreigner sojourning in a foreign land his entire life. He may be number two. We all know the story. He may be number two to just about every king that shows up in Babylon, but he's still always going to be a foreigner. He's still always going to be that captive. One of the other versions, the exile, right? The other thing that I noticed he says is he says that I have found a man. I told you when I was talking about how old I thought Daniel was and the age by which people are youths or men hovers around that 20. This is the other thing that makes me think, because he was a youth, but a year or two later, they're calling him a man. So he's hovering around that 20-year-old age when he was taken captive. So they find a man who will make known to the king the interpretation. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, are you able to make known to me the dream which I have seen and its interpretation? Here's another thing that we humans tend to do. Yes, sir, I can. Right? Daniel answered in his presence of the king and said, the secret which the king has demanded, the wise men, the astrologers, and the magicians, and the soothsayers cannot declare to the king. But there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what will be in the later days. He goes in and says, no man can know. So your astrologers and all those guys, they were right when they said that. They were also right when they said that there's a God, or that the gods would know. Where they weren't right is there's a God that's with us. And not only is he with us, talking about himself, he's with you, King, because he's made known to you something about later days. He chose you to know about things that are going to happen. I am sure Nebuchadnezzar was like, yeah, God told me. Yeah, but he didn't tell you the interpretation. You still need him. Your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed, and the visions of your head, as for you, O king, thoughts came to your mind while you were on your bed about what would come to pass after this. And he, capital H, who reveals secrets, has made known to you what will be. But as for me, this secret has not been revealed to me because I have more wisdom than anyone living, but for our sakes who make known the interpretations to the king, and that you may know the thoughts of your heart. The interpretation I'm going to be able to give back to you is for God, is because God is using that to save me. What he gave you is important for you to know. It's important for you to know how things are going to play out. The ability for me to interpret it is important for me and how things are going to play out. I think I'm fair in reading it that way.
Yeah, I mean, everything about this, it makes me feel like me. I wish I could measure up to his example one of these days. He refuses to use any part of it for his own advantage, to leverage himself up or his friends up or anything. You know, I mean, it just, everything is exactly right when Daniel does it. It just is.
Yeah.
And the way he went out of his way to say, this isn't about me. I got a message for you. You don't understand it. God's using me to help you understand it. And it's just amazing to me, the example. He is, I don't know there's a better man in all the Bible not named Jesus than Daniel is. I don't.
So for those that couldn't hear, Barry was saying that Daniel does everything in the right way. He doesn't use this position to give himself any favors, his friends any favors. He just says that God's using me to do this. He is providing me because it's him, not me. And that Daniel, if not is number 2 behind Jesus, he's certainly in the top 5. I think I put David slightly above him, but Daniel always seems to do always the right thing. So I want David to be in there somewhere because I never do the right thing anyway. Christine.
So this is just a primary example. The whole book of Daniel is just the ability to move within a world and affect that world, but not let it affect you. And it's the same thing that when Paul is talking about in the early church about how to not be of the world. Like we're in the world and we're called to affect the world by spreading the gospel, but we can't have it affect us. And I think this is just Daniel. Of him doing the things, he affects it in a real political way. You know, he has a real effect on the political landscape. But he doesn't ever make it where it's affecting him. It's changing him. It doesn't affect his faith. And so therefore, he's able to live within a culture, but not have it change fundamentally his faith and who he is.
Remember to say that on the last 2 weeks of the class. Anyway, because that is the point. It really is. It is the point of Daniel. He lived in a culture that was counter to him. And yet, he lived according to being pleasing to God. And like you said, just like Paul said, be in the world but not of the world. We have to be here. We need to be the influencers, not being the influenced. And the rest of this study of Daniel is going to show he was certainly the influencer. Many times to people to do bad things, but in their greed, not in because of what he was doing. Skipping to verse 46. I told you we're going to skip the dream because we're going to come back to the dream the next to last week because it ties in with all of the visions that Steve Godrow is going to have to talk about. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face, prostrate before Daniel, and commanded that they should present an offering and incense to him. The king answered Daniel and said, "Truly your God is the God of gods, the Lord of kings, and the revealer of secrets, since you could reveal this secret." Then the king promoted Daniel and gave him many great gifts, and he made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, the chief administrator over all the wise men of Babylon. Also Daniel petitioned the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the provinces of Babylon. But Daniel sat in the gate of the king. I've always found it interesting. It says, come bring these offerings to Daniel, and he doesn't stop them. We won't talk about it this time. The first bell's already rung, and we could probably talk an entire time about that. But I find it interesting that is true. But I am reminded that Abraham made an offering to a man that was actually the God. So that's where I've kind of, really and truthfully, the only person representing God there in Babylon is Daniel. And Nebuchadnezzar is going, oh, there is a God. Okay, let me pay homage to God. So I think it's a lot like Abraham and Melchizedek. So that's how I get past the fact that Daniel didn't say anything there. Daniel has been in Babylon 2 years. 2 years ago, he was sitting in Jerusalem. He's still got another year for his probationary period. And now he's number 2 to the king. He's sitting at the king's gate. Well, what that means, for those that don't know, and I had to go look it up, by the way, the king's gate is where court was held. When we talk about, well, they sit in the king's court, that doesn't mean like the court, like, all the pretty dances and all that. That means court, because the king made all the decisions and did those. He sat in the king's gate. They came and asked him. The king said, you know what? Go handle it. Daniel made all the decisions. Does that sound like somebody else we know? This guy named Joseph? And several others that ended up in very prominent positions. As we look through this, as we're doing this, tie those strings together inside Daniel, but also tie them back to other stories, because I think it's important for us to remind ourselves. Had somebody ask me one time, why do we study the Old Testament? Well, because it's the things, God doesn't change, so it tells us something about God, right? But there are very strong themes that run through most of these stories. The strong theme that I pulled out of what we have studied tonight, when I stop and think about anytime God's people are about to go through something, he sends somebody ahead of time. You see, Daniel is there a few years before the thousands come in. He's going to be established as number 2 in taking care of things. Does that sound like another story? This guy named Joseph? Does it sound like Noah? Something bad's about to happen. I'm sending him to save y'all. Nobody listened, but that was his job. Get them saved. Does it sound like John the Baptist? Does it sound like the apostles before us? Does it sound like the Holy Spirit being sent to comfort us? See, there's a theme that God...
You are my joy. You are my song.
We have the Spirit. We have all of these things where God may not be sending Daniel to us, but he does send somebody ahead of us. So while we're living in this world, to not be of the world, there's always somebody here to help us to be slightly aloof from the world while trying to influence the world. That's the theme I took away for tonight. Kind and gracious Heavenly Father, as we travel this world, help us to be light and salt in this world. Help us to look at Daniel, a young man that studied your word and did the right thing, always giving you honor and praise. Help us to be like Daniel. Help us in everything that we do in life to bring honor and glory upon you and help others to see that you are the God of gods, the Lord of lords, the King of kings, the revealer of secrets. Help us to know that we are nothing without you, but with you we are everything. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you all.
Oh, how good it is when the family of God dwells together in spirit, in faith and unity, where the bonds of peace, of acceptance and love are the fruit of His presence here among us. So with one voice we'll sing to the Lord, and with one voice we'll lift out His word till the whole earth sees the Redeemer has come, for He dwells in the presence of His people. Oh, how good it is on this journey we share to rejoice with the happy and weep with those who mourn, for the weak find strength, the afflicted find grace when we offer the blessing of belonging. So with one voice we'll sing to the Lord, and with one voice we'll lift out His word till the whole earth sees the Redeemer has come, for He dwells in the presence of His people. Oh, how good it is to embrace His command, to prefer one another, forgive as He forgives. When we live as one, we all share in the love of the Son with the Father and the Spirit. So with one voice we'll sing to the Lord, and with one voice we'll lift out His word till the whole earth sees the Redeemer has come, for He dwells in the presence of His people. So with one voice we'll sing to the Lord, and with one voice we'll lift out His word till the whole earth sees the Redeemer has come, for He dwells in the presence of His people. For He dwells in the presence of His people. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey, and the honeycomb. The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey, and the honeycomb. The fear fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey, and the honeycomb. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart